We're going to cut it up here and see if we can't make some kind of rustic wood furniture when we have some time. So what you saw there are 4 pieces that are about 24 inches to 30 inches thick and about 3 feet long. So we're going to see what we can carve up with a chainsaw and make some furniture. So this is Sunday afternoon that I'm taking this shot right here, and you can see that got things pretty well cleaned up on the north side of the new shop. And I pushed the root ball from the second tree up against the root ball for the first tree to see if we could get the whole thing to burn. But it'll no doubt burn a bit of it, but there's going to be a whole lot left. Just not enough fuel there to get that relatively green wood to burn. But if we get everything else that we took off of those trees burned, that'll be a lick. And before summer comes, if we don't get a chance to put some more piles together and try to burn those up, I can just push them into the trees and we'll wait for another day. And so there's where the first pile was that we burned up. So you can see that it's pretty much completely gone, and I just need to get the excavator over there and smooth that up a little bit and see if we can't get some grass to grow there this summer. All right, so what happened here? So we're expecting rain today. It's been overcast all day, and the wind has been blowing straight out of the south, just like 20, maybe a little bit more than that at times. I don't know how much rain we're supposed to get, but they keep putting back the start time. So it's been overcast all day. The temperature's warm, so we are about 71 degrees as I'm narrating this right now. I don't think it's going to cool down a whole lot, but it will cool down a little bit, of course. Flying back here, just put a little drone action into this thing. Here's our two bulls that we have out in that east pasture in the summertime. And we had some wean calves in here with these guys, and we sold them this last week. So we got that all cleaned up. We actually had 8 calves that were in with there's 3 bulls in here. There's only 2 in this frame, but there are actually 3 bulls in this pen. And we had, with them, there were 2 crippled bulls in here, and there were 8 wean calves. So it was kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. But we got those 8 calves and the 2 crippled bulls off to market this past week. We also went over west and we pulled 32 calves out over there. So in all, we sold 40 calves this past week, plus them 2 crippled bulls. The calves sold well, and they weighed up pretty good. So last year we sold our first calves it was exactly March 15th. So on March 15th, that was the date we sold our first calves. This time, of course, we sold them around January 15th. And on January 15th of this year, they are averaging the same weight as we sold last year on March 15th. So they're about 2 months ahead of the cattle that we sold last year. And they dollared up real good. So these first 40 calves that we've sold are selling above break-even point, which is awesome when you get your first cattle sold above the break-even. That gives you just a little bit of breathing room. So feel really good about that. Got this drone parked here actually while I'm emptying a rain gauge. So I was walking by the rain gauge as I was flying the drone, and so I took the rain gauge out and emptied it, and then the bottom fell out of the rain gauge. So I'm kind of stuck here just a little longer than I intended to be as I try to put the rain gauge back together. But eventually I do get this thing put together. So Michelle's been taking delivery of some hay we bought this week. We were fearful of running out of hay, and we had an opportunity to buy 184 bales, and they've all been delivered now, and I'll show you what that looks like here. But first, here's 4 of our 4 3-year-old bulls that we put out in this middle pasture with those Nebraska cows and the home-raised heifers. And so in here we have 1 steer calf and these 4 bulls. These 4 guys looking real good. And the calf in there, we had some wean calves in with these guys too, and that calf didn't want out of there. So we said, okay, just stay there. That'll be all right. And so at some point we'll have to get him and take him to town. But so we still have 95 calves over on the west side there that we need to probably bring in and sort up some. I'd like to keep some of the heifers there. And maybe keep even some of the lighter calves for a while because we don't have any urgency to sell. We do have some hay in stock now, so you can see down along the fence line there of this north pasture that Michelle's put in some of those bales we purchased, stacked them up right there, and they look a little rough from this angle, but you have to remember they've been, what you see as rough there is probably what was the bottom when they were at the seller's location. So when they roll off of his trailer, they don't necessarily land where they were sitting when they were loaded, but that's all right. It's really good hay and matches our hay in quality and even in kind. So it's Tifton 85 Bermuda grass, which is exactly what we're feeding. And we tried an experiment the other day and put one of ours out and one of these purchase bales out, and they kind of were indifferent. They kind of went to both of them. So that was really good. So here we are coming up on what we call Lake Tortuga, which is the pond just kind of out back of the house there. Had some hunters out last night, and just straight ahead there, they got at least one. The amount of firing that we heard around dark last night, there should have been around 700 dead hogs there, I think. But they got one as far as we can tell. So I'm going to just fly back here through this tree cut and take her up by the house. We'll see the rest of the bales that Michelle has got piled up there. So we got a good week coming up here. I don't think the weather's going to do too much. We're just coming out of a cold spell ourselves. So last week we had some, not record cold weather, but for this area certainly, quite cold weather. And, ice on the tanks. In fact, one morning we had the pond down by the highway was frozen over, which that just doesn't happen very much. I can really think of only one other time since we've lived out here that actually occurred. So getting 3 or 4 nights in a row where you're below freezing is just pretty unusual. And we had one day where the temperature really didn't get much above about 24. So daytime highs below freezing are quite rare. And so we're not really equipped for that, and shipping ice in tanks and so forth is something we just don't normally have to do. But we had to do a little bit of that here last week, and it was just fine. All right, so there's look at some of that hay again, and I'm going to fly her. I'm going to drop her down here a little bit. Want to clear these trees and fly it back to the south there a little bit. The wind was whipping so much that I had quite a bit of trouble just keeping this thing headed where I wanted it to go. And I normally don't fly this thing when it's that windy, but it's a nice day out temperature-wise, and it just seemed like a challenge worth taking on here between the games. So that's me, kind of right there in the center of the frame, and I'll fly it right at me here for a second and give you all a big wave and say howdy and hope you're having a great weekend and that the world's going your way today. Yeah, you can see my pants are blowing in the breeze there, so it's definitely whipping around there pretty good. We're going to start putting some materials together to replace those corrals here shortly. We're going to put them back pretty much like they are. We'll use those 2x12s by 16-foot boards and pressure treated. That fence has held up as long as we thought it would, and we're happy with that. So we're going to do it the same again, and pretty much the same footprint, I think, probably. These bales down here are also bales that Michelle bought and had them just offloaded right there where they'd be handy to go out to the west and east pastures there. You see the drone, I'm having a little trouble kind of keeping her tracking. The wind's blowing it about quite a bit. Normally it's got the stabilizing devices that kind of hold it in one place, but it's having trouble managing itself there today. So probably try to, within the next 3 weeks or so, get those calves over west brought over. sort them up, take off the ones we want to sell, and probably take the rest of them right back over there. You know, we're only about probably 6 weeks from grass. So I'd like to have some cattle over there when the grass starts coming, and hopefully they can keep up with it. Lately, we've had to go over there and shred in the middle of the summer just to get rid of the all the overgrowth and so forth. So hopefully, if we get some cattle over there, we just spray the bad stuff and let them eat the grass, and that'll work out pretty good. Well, I hope you're all doing great. Good visiting with you vicariously, and we'll try to put together another video for you in a week or two. Thanks. Have a great one.